Hi, this is Dr. JMR Chemistry. Today I would like to explain about solubility and solubility rules and some exceptions. I am Dr. JMR Chemistry. Please like, share and subscribe to my channel, Dr. JMR. What is solubility? Solubility means the amount of solute in grams is dissolved in 100 grams of solvent at a given temperature. That is called solubility. How many grams of solute is dissolved in 100 grams of solvent? You take 2 grams of sugar is dissolved in 100 grams of water. So how much amount is soluble in water? That is called solubility. So here, what is solubility? Means generally the term soluble and insoluble. Soluble means a compound is soluble in a particular liquid if it dissolves in that liquid. It must be dissolved. So here compound is soluble. We can say that is solubility. We can use the terminology soluble, dissolves in that liquid. A compound is insoluble if it does not dissolve in water. So we can use the terminology insoluble. Here, for example, sodium chloride, that we can call it as table salt, namak, or you take common salt. It is soluble in water. If we mix solid NaCl, that is sodium chloride, into water, it dissolves and forms a strong electrolyte because water is a bad electrolyte. If you add sodium chloride into it, it acts as a strong electrolyte due to presence of Na plus and Cl minus ions. Another example, silver chloride is insoluble in water. We mix solid silver chloride into water. It remains as a solid, means it is insoluble in water. Means AgCl form precipitate, means we can say insoluble in water. We are having certain rules and regulations that we can call it as solubility rules. Here, according to solubility rules, if lithium ions are present, you take any lithium ion, that is Li plus 1, we can say, that is valence is 1. Lithium ion Li plus 1. Compounds contains lithium ion, they are soluble in water. Suppose you take lithium bromide, lithium nitrate, lithium sulfate, lithium hydroxide, lithium carbonate. These compounds dissolve in water to form strong electrolytic solution. Means if lithium ion is present in that compound, they are soluble in water. This is number 1 point. So finally we concluded that lithium compounds are soluble in water. If nitrate ions are present, that is NO3 minus, they are also soluble in water. Compounds such as silver nitrate, lead nitrate, sodium nitrate, calcium nitrate, strontium nitrate, all are dissolved in water to form a strong electrolytes. Means we can say that if nitrate ion NO3 minus is present, they are soluble in water to form the respective what ions. So, we concluded that if lithium ions are present, they are soluble. If nitrate ions are present, they are also, all nitrate compounds are soluble in water. So here carbonate ion CO3 2 minus. Generally compounds containing nitrate ions are insoluble. All carbonates are insoluble, generally insoluble, but we are having certain exceptions. Means, for example, copper carbonate, calcium carbonate, strontium carbonate and ferrous carbonate do not dissolve in water. Means they are insoluble. Suppose we are having certain exceptions. What are they? If carbonates contains lithium, sodium, potassium, ammonium, ions are present, they are soluble. Means copper carbonate, calcium carbonate, strontium carbonate and ferrous carbonate, they do not dissolve in water. But if they combine with lithium, sodium, potassium, ammonium ions, all are soluble. Means lithium carbonate, sodium carbonate, potassium carbonate, ammonium carbonate are soluble in water. These are the exceptions. Similarly, here if carbonate ions are present, some are exceptions, some are soluble. Copper, calcium, strontium and ferrous, they are insoluble. Lithium, sodium, potassium and ammonium ions are present, they are soluble. Similarly, here compounds containing the following ions are mostly soluble. Lithium, sodium, potassium, ammonium, nitrate and acetate ions are present in the compounds. Generally, they are soluble. Means these are cations and these two are anions. If lithium, sodium, potassium, ammonium cations as a cation or nitrate and acetate, they are soluble in water. Any exceptions are there? No, there is no exceptions. All are soluble in water, mostly soluble. Suppose you take chloride, bromide and ionide. These ions are present, they are mostly soluble. But here we are having certain exceptions. What are they? Silver chloride or mercury chloride or lead chloride, they are insoluble. These are the exceptions. All chlorides, all bromides, all iodides are soluble. Suppose you take silver chloride, they are insoluble. Mercury chloride, insoluble. Lead chloride, they are insoluble. So that's why these are, we can say, insoluble. Next, according to solubility rules, if sulfate ion is present, all sulfates are soluble except these three ions. What are they? Strontium, barium, lead and calcium ions. If they combine with the sulfates like this strontium sulfate, barium sulfate, lead sulfate and calcium sulfate, they are insoluble. Next, According to the solubility rules, these ions, if contains these anions, that is hydroxide, carbonate and phosphate ions are present, then we can call it as generally insoluble. Insoluble. But some exceptions are there. What are they? All hydroxides are insoluble. We can say insoluble. But if lithium, sodium, potassium, ammonium are present, means lithium hydroxide, sodium hydroxide, potassium hydroxide, then ammonium hydroxide, they are soluble. Here, that is calcium, strontium and barium, they are slightly soluble. Means calcium hydroxide, strontium hydroxide, barium hydroxide, they are slightly soluble. So, generally, next carbonate ions. Carbonate compounds are generally insoluble. But some are exceptions are there. Calcium carbonate, or you take strontium carbonate, or you take barium carbonate, they are soluble, insoluble, these compounds, but these compounds are, we can say, soluble. Means carbonate ions are insoluble, but these are the exceptions. If ions contains calcium, strontium and barium ions also insoluble, what? Here any exceptions are there? Then here these are the exceptions. What are they? Lithium, sodium, potassium and ammonium are the exceptions. Means here if carbonates as well as phosphates are generally soluble only for lithium if compounds contains what? Lithium, sodium, potassium and ammonium. So here there is no exception for calcium, strontium and barium. They are naturally insoluble. So that is why here, so you take carbonate or phosphate, generally what? They are soluble when they combine with lithium, sodium, potassium and ammonium ions. Once here these ions, if compounds contains hydroxides, or you take another one, that is sulfide, you take sulfide. So here hydroxides or sulfides, generally they are insoluble, but these are the exceptions. Suppose you take lithium sulfide, soluble, sodium sulfide. So when these ions combine with what? Lithium, sodium, potassium, ammonium, they are soluble. Or you take sulfide also. I wrote here sulfide. Sulfides also generally they are combined with these ions, they are soluble in water. You take, or you take calcium, strontium, barium, they are slightly soluble in water. Carbonates and phosphates. Carbonates as well as phosphates, generally they are insoluble in water. But when they combine with these ions, that is lithium, sodium, potassium and ammonium, they are soluble. So here this is about what? Solubility. I'll give you some example. Determine whether a compound is soluble or not. So here suppose you take for example AgCl. AgCl is insoluble. Based on our solubility rules, you have to answer these questions. AgCl, that is insoluble because compounds containing Br minus are normally soluble, but Due to presence of this Ag plus ion is exception, so that is why it is insoluble in water. Next, sodium chloride, calcium chloride, generally it is soluble because if Cl minus, that is chloride ions, are normally soluble, calcium 2 plus exception is not an exception to dissolve. Generally it is soluble. You take a lead nitrate. Lead nitrate is a soluble compound. Means nitrate ions, generally all nitrates generally soluble in water. You take lead sulfate, but this is insoluble because here sulfate ions are exception, normally soluble, but lead 2 plus is an exception because it is insoluble. Now finally we concluded that silver bromide is insoluble in water, calcium chloride is soluble, and lead nitrate is soluble, and lead sulfate water insoluble. I'll give you some questions. Please answer these questions. Okay. Lead carbonate, copper sulfide, ferrous sulfate, ammonium chloride. These compounds are soluble or not? Please write in the respective notebooks. Thank you. This is Dr. JMR, JMR Chemistry. Please like, share and subscribe to my channel. Thank you. This is Dr. JMR, JMR Chemistry.